Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank the Honorable Bakal Mbure for the question. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we know, tourism is Fiji's largest economic driver. For the first 4 months of this year, we recorded 276,701 visitors to Fiji, a 4.6% increase over the same period in 2025. We are seeing bookings holding strong over the coming months, despite the ongoing geopolitics. But as governments, we are clear on one fundamental principle, i.e. growth and prosperity must not belong only to a few. Mr. Speaker, sir, the coalition government is firmly committed to ensuring that the growth of our tourism industry is not a privilege reserved for a few established centers. It must be a powerful engine for national development that reaches every corner of this country, uplifting our rural villages, our maritime communities, and our indigenous people. The benefits of tourism must reach our villages, our fishermen, our resource owners, our farmers, our women, our youth, and our indigenous communities. This approach is strongly guided by the Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation through the National Sustainable Tourism Framework 2024-2034, which places people, culture, community well-being, and environmental stewardship at the center of tourism development. That is the vision driving this coalition tourism reform agenda. Mr. Speaker, we are pursuing this through several strategic pillars. First, improving the legal and regulatory environment. The government is progressing important legislative reforms. We are creating a stronger legal and policy foundation through the Commercial Use of Marine Areas Bill, or CUMA, 2025, and the Tourism Bill 2026. The Commercial Use of Marine Areas Bill seeks to provide greater clarity, transparency, and fairness in the use of marine areas for commercial tourism purposes. This is particularly important for maritime and indigenous communities whose customary fishing grounds and marine resources are increasingly linked to tourism activities. For too long, Mr. Speaker, many indigenous resource owners have watched commercial activity occur in their traditional marine areas without clear frameworks for participation and benefit sharing. This CUMA bill seeks to create a fairer system, one that respects customary rights while maintaining investor confidence and sustainable tourism growth. Similarly, the Tourism Bill modernizes the sector for the first time in our nation's history. It places sustainability, community participation, and indigenous partnership at the center of tourism development. It further recognizes community-based tourism models and creates pathways for MSMEs and rural operators to participate more meaningfully in the industry. Together, these reforms are intended to create a more inclusive tourism economy that protects indigenous rights while providing greater investor certainty and sustainable development opportunities. Mr. Speaker, sir, we recognize that participation means little without access to finance and opportunity. One of the greatest barriers facing rural and maritime communities is not ambition. Communities have the cultural assets, the land, the marine resources, the stories of the people, but they lack capital, technical support, infrastructure, and market access. That is why governments, through partnerships with development agencies and the private sector, is supporting initiatives focused on tourism MSMEs, community enterprise development, and investment readiness. Our focus is not only on attracting investments, but also on enabling communities themselves to become tourism entrepreneurs and long-term beneficiaries. In the current financial year, we have worked with MSMEs in delivering training, such as digital capacity building and business continuity. We are working to ensure that small operators are not left behind in a sector they have helped build. The Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation is also in its second year of implementing the pilot Tourism Micro and Small Enterprises Fund to provide access to finance for promising enterprises in villages and maritime communities so they are able to participate more meaningfully in the tourism value chain. Third, Mr. Speaker, we're strengthening sectoral linkages, particularly between tourism and agriculture. Mr. Speaker, every dollar spent by a visitor should circulate deeper into the Fijian economy. One of the major leakages in tourism economies globally is food importation. The Ministry is working to strengthen the connection between agriculture and tourism so that more tourism dollars remain within local communities. Through partnership with farmers, hotels, restaurants, development partners, and industry stakeholders, the Ministry is supporting initiatives to improve food sourcing systems, aggregation hotel models, food safety standards, logistics, and market access for local producers. This creates opportunities for rural farming communities, women's groups, fisheries-based livelihoods, and traditional producers to directly benefit from tourism demand while also strengthening national food security. Fourth, Mr. Speaker, we are focused on geographic dispersion. The future of fish tourism can rely only on traditional tourism corridors. We are actively supporting development opportunities in Vulnerable through the Nuevo Lico project. We are also looking at new maritime regions and other underserved areas through improved planning, infrastructure coordination, air connectivity discussions, and destination development initiatives. Earlier this year, Mr. Speaker, sir, we commenced work with the Fiji Navy in updating Fiji's hydrographic mapping in Fulanga so that Lau as a maritime region can be more safely accessible to marine tourism. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, sir, I firmly believe that the success is not measured only by visitor arrivals, but by whether tourism improves lives across this country. That is the direction of the government, that is the purpose of our reforms, and that is the future we are building for Fiji. Navaleo.